Hello,
Uwu.
welcome back. It is episode 9, I believe, and we are pretty much picking off just where we left off, if you forget. Last week, me and Mia pretty much didn't know whether to immediately continue, because we're really getting into this section, or whether to stop it for today, as in this recording day. So we decided we get to cut off your experience, leave you guys waiting.
Sorry, guys.
And we get to
by
continue
this
on the
point,
same
we're already
day.
like 4 weeks ahead in the game, so
Well, I think this is now going into September. So, basically we've started doing this. Our way of doing videos, recordings for this, is that for every time there is between the two cracks, those are going to be the episodes, unless they're really close together, which is why we weren't sure if we should do a longer episode last week or split it into another one, solely because it was kind of a shorter one, but there was a lot that we went through. So, yeah, so we continue exactly where we left off. In the end, Kanon-kun did not regain consciousness, so he is officially dead. So, the head, Kinzo, the chest, Kanon. Who is the stomach, the knee, and the leg? Even though Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him, of course, there was very little that could be done on an island without proper medicine or proper facilities. However, Kanon was the only human to ever confront the culprit. If only he could give us some kind of clue. However, at the time they carried Kanon away, it was already too late. My sincere apologies. Without proper facilities, there was nothing I could do about such a serious wound. No, that is perfectly understandable. Thank you so much for giving your very best. Dr. Nanja's shirt had been sprayed by a violent spurt of blood, so it was easy to imagine the devotion with which he had tried to save Kanon's life up until the last second. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying softly. She had probably been taking care of Kanon-kun until the very moment of his death. George Aniki tried to approach her with words of comfort, but when Jessica pushed him away, he stopped trying to force her to talk and left her alone. Kumasawa?
Oh my goodness, sorry. Woo! Oh, if only I hadn't let Kanon-san go alone. Woo!
Do not let that bother you. If you had been with him, you probably would have been attacked as well. He foolishly rushed ahead and paid for his mistake. How can you say it like that? Kanon-kun spotted the culprit and bravely stood up to them. If only Kumasawa-san had gone with him, the culprit might have hesitated and chosen to run away. Emotion filled the words I never thought I'd hear coming from Jessica's mouth tumbled out. Kumasawa, looking truly sorry, could do nothing but hang her head. Jessica. You shouldn't talk to her now. It's the same for me. And probably for you as well, right, Battler-kun? We don't know what's going on, and it feels like our hearts are going to be split open. There were tears in George Aniki's eyes again. Seeing Jessica break down crying probably brought back the pain of losing his parents. I'm done crying all at once. I'd done my crying all at once. I didn't... Shit, I keep moving shit over on my thing.
Brooklyn.
So I didn't feel like crying anymore. However, I understood how great the pain of their hearts was. It's okay, Jessica. You'll probably be able to meet Kanon again soon. God, Maria! She's such a menace. Stop it! I don't need you to try to console me like that. Beatrice will resurrect the dead, even love that has been lost. So you'll definitely be able to meet him soon. Then everyone will be able to live in peace. So the one who killed Kanon-kun is Beatrice, who supposedly gave you that letter yesterday? Where is she? Where is she hiding? I'll find her and I'll tear her apart. Tell me. You know who the culprit really is, don't you? What do you know and what are you hiding? Tell me, damn it! Milady, please stop. Ew, ew, Beatrice exists, ew. Damn it, let go of me, Genji-san. Maria knows who the culprit is, and she's hiding their identity even though she knows. She must be telling them what they're doing, guiding them as they kill us. Jessica, be silent. Jessica grabbed Maria. Genji tried to stop her, but Jessica could not be calmed. Then, the next thing I heard was the sound of Aunt Natsuhi slapping Jessica's face. After that, only Jessica's full sobbing voice resounded through the hall. Maria-chan, I know there's no way you're the culprit. You've been with us since the beginning, and there's no time for you to communicate with any culprit. So I want you to tell me something. This Beatrice, who handed you the letter yesterday, who was she? Although the words seemed kind, they clearly showed George still had some remaining doubts about Maria. He didn't actually grab at her. However, he felt exactly the same way Jessica did. Aniki, I already asked her the same thing a second ago. Her answer was the same as before. I want to hear it from Maria's mouth. Who is Beatrice? Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe it anyway. What do you mean by that? Could it be the culprit someone we all know? And you're keeping silent because you're covering for them for some reason? Who gave you that letter? I got it from Beatrice. I'll say it no matter how many times you ask. I got the letter from Beatrice. Kihihi. Jojani-chan, do you refuse to believe Beatrice because you're not an opponent you can hit? Because she's not an opponent you can hit? You want to turn your feelings of helplessness and violence into violence and beat someone up. So you won't be satisfied until your opponent is a human you can hit. So, even if I tell you the truth, you won't accept it. So, it's pointless for me to tell you. You won't believe it. But I'll keep on saying it. Because it's true. Beatrice exists. Kihihi. The door to the Golden Land will soon be opened. I'll go there. Beatrice promised. In that world, Mama is nice, Papa is with us, and is also nice. I want to go there right away. Everyone is afraid of Beatrice, but that's only natural. So calm yourselves. Beatrice said so herself. By the time the typhoon has passed, I'll have ended everything, she said. Ouch! Maria, I don't mind you being talkative, but leave it at that for now. I'll bet this is all a pretty happy situation for you, since you're always going on about how witches exist. So keep that to yourself for now. Don't try to force that on other people. Ew. I know I've been creeped out by this girl for a while now, but this is really something is wrong with her. Don't you think so, Battler? Genji-san? Kumasawa-san? What about you, Mom? Maria knows who the culprit is and she's hiding it. Okay, maybe she hasn't done anything directly, but she's definitely working with the criminal. That's right, she's a spy. We can't let her stay with us any longer. Hihihi. Maria-chan, you must realize there are times when indiscreet discussion is best avoided. If you keep adding oil onto the fire, even I will get very angry. Aunt Nutty glared at Maria with frightening eyes. Maria was used to Aunt Rose's loud style of scolding, but apparently she hadn't built up any resistance to Aunt Nutty's quiet sort of scolding. She shrugged and kept her mouth shut. A desolate feeling filled the room. It felt as though things would just keep getting more complicated if anyone spoke. How many people have already died? 6 people in Dad's group. After that, both Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, Kanon-kun, grandfather, there was a whole 18 people on this island, and supposedly 10 of them have been killed. More than half of us. Right now, there's absolutely no proof that the remaining 8 people will be safe. At any rate, this is no time to quarrel. Now that we are certain the culprit can enter and leave the mansion at will and strike out of nowhere, We must give our undivided attention to surviving until tomorrow. I agree strongly with Aunt Natahi. We can figure out who the culprit is at our leisure tonight. For now, though, we're better off finding a place to barricade ourselves in. As I said this, I pointed out the clock to everyone. It was already 8 at night. We had been receiving shocks over and over again since the early morning, and our bodies and minds were both completely tired out. There was still a long, long time until tomorrow. We still needed to find a place to barricade ourselves in so we could rest our bodies and get even the smallest amount of relief. I agree. Everyone is already pushing the mental and physical limits, myself included. I believe it would be wise to take that into account as we move forward. That's right. There's a high probability that the enemy's got an equivalent of a master key. Where is Kanon-kun, Goda-san holding master keys? Yes. They were supposed to have them on their persons during work. We didn't want to disturb the scene, so we didn't investigate that closely. We can't eliminate that possibility that someone stole a key from them. In the first place, we know the culprit may have visited the servant's room at some point to unlock the garden shed shutter. It's conceivable that they obtained a master key from there earlier on. There were many servants serving the Ashuramiya family. Because of that, there were several master keys. Furthermore, every time one employee started, finishing, or finished working, the keys were passed between servants. We had to acknowledge that this had probably gotten a bit sloppy at times in the past. Even if they borrowed a bundle of keys from the pockets of one of the murdered servants, is there any safe place that those keys couldn't open?
Because of the nature of our job, we've been entrusted with keys to all of the rooms. All of them in the mansion and in the guest house.
So in other words, no matter where we hole up out and lock ourselves in, it'd just be pointless. Fine. Who cares about locking up? If you're gonna come and bring it on, damn it. I'll beat you at your own game. The enemy won't approach us from the front. I don't know about the first 6, but if we look at what happened to my parents at Kanokun, and even grandfather, the enemy has only gone after isolated people. They don't have the power to assault all of us openly in a secure room. That's right. It's just like Anaki says. And maybe Aunt Nasi's rifle can serve as a deterrent to stop them from attacking. I hope that is so, but... Maria, I know you want to say something, but keep it to yourself and stay quiet for a while. Hey there. Maria probably wanted to say something about how witches weren't afraid of things like guns. But if she were to say it out loud, the atmosphere around here would have started to get pretty edgy. And I had noticed and decided to put a stop to it.
We love edgy 9-year-old Maria.
As
Shadow
if, like,
the Hedgehog for real.
As if, like, 2 episodes ago we weren't saying that she would be kinning Junko Enoshima and Mia Frisch all in the same breath.
And Dream. But maybe not Dream. No, what was that one TikTok? It was like, my alters are Dream, Light Yagami, and Junko Enoshima.
I vaguely understand the reference you're saying. I think I've seen it, but it's been a while.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
Oh wait, I think I'm the one who sent it to you, now that I think about it.
Hold on, I'm sure I found it.
Oh my god.
Don't mess with me. I can psychoanalyze you in seconds and figure out every single flaw about you. You are nothing to me. I'm a god compared to you. I can manipulate you whenever I want to. I kid people like Yagami, Junko Enoshima, and Dream. I am a psychopath. Do not mess with me. I am God.
See, it could have been ironic if they hadn't included Dream. Like, I feel like that it could have been passed off as satire.
Yeah.
Oh no. If I may, I do know of just one place that cannot be entered even with the servant key rings. Where is that? That would be the master's study. I'm against this. I don't even want to try and think about going to grandfather's creepy room. How many keys can access that room? There are 2. I always have one on my person. The other was held by the master himself, but just now, I found this on the corpse in the boiler room. Genji-san took out a handkerchief out of his pocket and opened it, showing us the burnt, filthy study key. When he showed it alongside his own key, which once lent to Natsuki, normally, it would have been proper to leave the master's keys for the police. But because of the master's orders to protect the safety of the study, I borrowed it for the time being. I see. Which means that Kinzo-san's study is the only place where we can be safe. It's what appears that way. I don't even want to think about being shut up in that strange room all night. But it appears we must acknowledge that this room is safer than anywhere else right now. Even though grandfather locked himself up in that safe room and the culprit brought him out and killed him, we can't be certain that it's truly safe. According to your theory, grandfather cleverly found a way out of that receipt trick and left the room of his own free will. If so, that room might be a good place to barricade ourselves in after all. You're too optimistic, Aniki. However, at the same time, I thought he brought up a pretty interesting point. After all, this gives us a chance to question the enemy, the witch herself, about how the sealed doors had been opened. If we assume the culprit, I swear to God, if I see the words and spin the chessboard around, I'm going to crash out. If we assume the culprit used some technique to kidnap grandfather from his study, they'd have to show the same trick again if they wanted to assault us in the study. And that give us a chance to make the culprit prove how they did it right before our eyes. If she's really a witch, we'll be forcing her to use her little magic trick to open the door right in front of us. But that's probably impossible.
If you spin the chessboard around.
What's more painful? Rudolph's voice, spin the chessboard around, or I don't know.
Georgia Coolidge. You just can't escape this at all, Brooklyn.
No, I can't. At least I could escape Rudolph. The last 3 episodes have been Rudolph free.
You know what? Back to the previous topic though. I feel like it could potentially not be satire, considering I knew someone when I was younger who very genuinely kinned Yuno Gasai.
Oh no, I think that person is very sincere. I'm saying that if they had not included Dream, it could probably be more plausible as satire.
Ah.
But because
I thought the Dream part made it satire.
No, I think that makes it very sincere because of the context of when that was posted.
Very true.
So, I think that makes it very sincere. If it hadn't have included Dream, I think it would have been more satire. Like, if it was like, Light Yagami, no, was it? Junko Inoshima, and, say she included Yuno Gasai. Like, that feels like it'd be more satire to me. Because it's like all anime characters. If you spin the chessboard around, it's obvious the culprit is acting in a way that will make us think they're a witch. If she really is a witch, all she's gotta do is appear in front of us and wow, with a colorful display of magic. Since she's avoided doing that, everything must be the work of a fake witch who wants us to think she was real. Therefore, the culprit who used a technique other than magic to defeat the closed room couldn't open the door before our eyes. Is grandfather's room big enough to stuff 8 people in? Yes. There is a bed and a sofa and blankets, so while it is not luxurious, it will be more than suitable for spending the night. There is also a sink, a bathroom, a refrigerator, and a liquor cabinet. Whoa, that's incredible. But isn't that weird? You're saying that he built another house inside his house? That's pretty cramped for the last house of someone like our grandfather, who bought a whole island and realized all of his dreams. That's right. After some point of time, father probably couldn't feel the peace in any other place inside the mansion. We already sneered about how he shut himself up in there, and this time, we're the ones who's gonna shut ourselves up. Ha! Jessica spat the words out. Jessica-chan, it sounds like you'd rather go search for the culprit than stay shut up somewhere. Of course, I don't think I'll be able to find them if we just start searching on our own. In the end, we can't do anything but wait. Then, it doesn't matter where we wait, does it? I'm not gonna run away or hide. Why don't we just take it easy in the parlor, watching TV or something, while we wait for this Beatrice-sama to appear? It is perfectly fine if she doesn't appear. There's no need for us to be the ones who expose the culprits. Well said. We shouldn't take needless risks before the police arrive. Thank you, Dr. Nanjo. I think we should move to Father's study. True, we have no proof that it's safe since Father was taken out of there. However, I can't deny the possibility that, as Bertrand reasoned, Grandfather left the study of his own accord and was attacked outside. A while back, I proposed the strange theory that, as a stopgate measure, but as Aunt Ava said, even though that trick would be possible, I couldn't explain what motive would made Grandfather sneak out of his own study in such a troublesome way. Plus, Grandfather couldn't even have used that trick unless he knew that receipt was wedged in the door. Aunt Ava hadn't pointed out that last part, but it's clear how absurd that theory was. So, does that mean the sealed door formed a closed room, just as Aunt Ava claimed? It is an undeniable fact that Aunt Natsuki was the culprit. If Aunt Ava was here now, she'd probably make that claim openly and blow my strange theory away. But anyway, I had to admit that a room with both a bed and a toilet, all 8 people could be shut up in. And with only 2 keys, both of which were gathered here, had to be the safest place in the mansion right now. At the very least, I figured this would be better than just staying shut up in the parlor and hoping nothing was going wrong. But wait, have we been safe only because we've been shut up in the parlor? What if leaving the room and moving to an unexplored location is actually more dangerous? It's useless. It's useless. It's all useless. My flimsy head is about to break out in a fever. If I keep spinning the chessboard around, right and wrong will keep switching places over and over. I won't be able to believe anything. Fucking spin it around. Fucking, what's that Kylie Minogue song? I'm spinning around.
Kyrie Minogue.
Kyrie Minogue. Oh
Kyrie
my god.
Minogue. There are so many icons in this family. Georgia for Coolidge, Kyrie Minogue.
Kyrie Minogue. I can't believe it. And it was her idea.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just write down a Kyrie Minogue. Because who knows? If nothing interesting happens, that's the thumbnail.
Or you just put her in the corner.
Yes. Over and over, and I won't be able to believe in anything. When it seems like the culprit is one of the 18, I want to believe in Beatrice. But once I start believing in Beatrice, I want to start finding the culprit amid the 18. If that keeps spinning around forever, in the end, my thoughts won't have taken one step from where they started. How far back in the past was it that Kiri-san told me about the chessboard thinking? I don't know, but I feel like it's a mistake. That concept of examining the situation by spinning it around and thinking of it from the enemy's side. I seem to remember being so interested by it back then, I used to guide all my thinking. By the way, Kyrie Minogue and was Dad's co-worker back then.
I read it as both.
I keep reading as Kiri, but I think I'm just gonna start calling her Kyrie Minogue. I never dreamed that she'd someday be added to our family. Didn't Kyrie Minogue tell me something once? I get the feeling that she once said that while this chessboard thinking was one powerful way to look at things, it certainly wasn't all powerful, and it wouldn't be good to rely on it too much. Chessboard thinking. It's my own interpretation of something called game theory. Oh! Game theory? Pat! Which I read about in a book a long time ago. It's very interesting subjects, so you shouldn't tackle it yourself when you get into college, Batlakun. I really want to try it.
If I could... Kylie Minogue and Matt Pat.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
Kyrie Minat Pat.
Yes.
Kyrie Minat Pat. Oh my god. Oh lord. We're just tired at this point. It'd be fun to be able to read into any opponent's moves, wouldn't it? But you can't believe in it blindly. Game theory is just a very deep, complicated subject. The chessboard thinking is just my interpretation that skims the surface of game theory. In order to thoroughly read your opponent's moves, like you're imagining, you need to study your opponent. Additionally, while chessboard theory is convenient and practical, it isn't perfect. It has many weak points despite its convenience. Weak points? Yes. Chessboard thinking is founded upon game theory. When you thoroughly investigate game theory, it boils down to math. Do you know what weak points of math is? It's noise. In math, when you write 1 + 1, it equals 2. That process will always result in 1 + 1 equals 2 no matter how many billions of years pass, nothing more, nothing less. That's because there's absolutely no noise mixed in. But, for example, unlike math, the Japanese language has noise mixed in. Kanji are a good example. Old kanji and new kanji are slightly different, which represents an introduction of noise created by changes between time periods. Isn't history the same? There are dozens of policies that seem foolish in the modern era, but were meaningful at some point in the past. Because of the rules of chess are fixed, when a pair of experts are discussing one particular layout, it's possible they could reach the same conclusions whether they're 100 years in the past or 100 years in the future. However, the rules of chess had gone through massive changes over time. It's possible that the discussion of the same layout will have changed as well. That's right. Events in the world of humans are normally full of noise. Aren't human emotions that way? Even if it's the exact same thing occurs more than once, there's no guarantee that humans will always act in a predictable fashion. The moment we try to use math-based theory to predict someone's actions, we must be aware that our theory has built-in weaknesses and limits. Simply put, chessboard thinking is extremely weak against noise and fickleness, as well as mistakes or incorrect knowledge. That's right. Kyrie Minogue definitely said that. Chess has always been a game where both sides by the same rules had to fight the same conditions for victory. That's why it's possible for both sides to predict the other's moves. It's possible to read your opponent because you can always suppose that they'll make the best move that they can find. But what if your opponent is fickle or a bit tired and makes more moves than they can hardly be called the best? Or what if the game has a special rule, some unknown thing that only the enemy knows about and can use? In fact, what if the opponent actually has some goal other than victory? Think from your enemy's perspective. That's the basis of chessboard thinking, which means if you misread your enemy, the answer you draw from this process will be complete rubbish, useless. So far, I've used chessboard theory to guess several vague bits of information about the culprit hiding behind this case, or so I think. However, I don't know anything about this culprit. Am I just playing around in a labyrinth of thought? Yes! If Kyrie Minogue were here at a time like this, she'd probably be able to notice something with her much sharper thinking ability. I mean, she's here. She's in the garden shed.
Yeah.
But her face is not quite there. Sorry. Nor is her agile thinking. Until the very last moment, Jessica resisted moving into grandfather's study. But in the end, Aunt Nazi persisted and decided to move there. Everyone was completely wrapped up in paranoia by now. Kumasawa-san had prepared dinner at one point, but during the time we were discovering deaths of George Anaki's parents, both the kitchen and the parlor had been left empty. Someone suggested that the food might have been poisoned while we were gone. Because of that, we were unable to even touch the food that Kumasawa-san had taken the trouble to make for us.
Aww.
The manner in which the first 6 were killed was still unknown, but it certainly could have been poison. Certainly, that would have allowed even a single person to carry out the murder of 6 large adults. Therefore, this idea made it easy to imagine there only being a single culprit who'd be afraid of Aunt Natsuhi's rifle. This was very good for our emotional stability. But the fatigue and hunger were even harsher than we'd imagined. Then, Kumasawa-san made a proposal. We all went together to the kitchen. There, we gathered some canned food and some other things that'd be hard to poison to take in with us. For all of Kumasawa-san's efforts to reward us with a little dinner on the savage day regrettably came to nothing. The food piled up on the serving cart looked a little sad. We all started climbing the stairs. Aunt Natsuhi, who was in the lead, stomach, knee, and leg. Someone is gonna starve to death. Potentially someone falls down the stairs. That's my thought process right now, because they're talking about hunger. Or poisoning. They could very well get poisoned as well. Aunt Natsuhi, who was in the lead, warily stared into the darkness, with both eyes in the barrel of the gun. Once we dragged ourselves up to the 3rd floor, just as Aunt Natsuhi had warned us beforehand, there was a mixture of chemical smell and sickly sweet aroma stench hanging in the air, and it felt like it was eating into our heads. I see. This kind of stench would probably give you a headache if you were shut in with it for the whole night. I know it's a little late, but I'm with Jessica. I voted against going into Grandfather's study. I felt like that stench was floating out from this magnificent door. It was the door to the forbidden study, which should defend against any who would enter. While Genji-san unlocked the door, Maria stared at the doorknob with great interest. It was an incredible door. It looks old and strict like it'd stop any jokes cold, a perfect door for Grandfather's study. The power to ward off spiritual menaces is strong here. Beatrice probably couldn't open this door. Oh? What does that mean? Maria pointed at the doorknob. A scorpion crest. No, a design like that, like a magic circle arranged around a scorpion, was inscribed here. That design. That's right. It's just like those keychain charms Maria gave Jessica and me yesterday. The 5th magic circle of Mars is a strong ward against magic. Additionally, this magic circle was very diligently constructed, and it's full of power. Such a magic circle can be quite troublesome for beings of magic like Beatrice. Isn't that comforting? Are you saying that we can escape even Beatrice's clutches in this room? Our little witch here is sure reliable. Then how did Beatrice get Grandfather out? Just as Battler reasoned, Beatrice can't go inside. However, she has both magic and familiars. Using them, she might have been able to get Grandfather to leave the study of his own accord. I've read about that in manga. I've seen a bunch of scenes where vampires were frightened of crosses, so they couldn't even get close. But the familiars were just fine, so they made their familiars attack. Those scorpion keychain charms I gave you yesterday. They also had the 5th magic circle of Mars on them. The power dwelling within them was weak, but they should be strong enough to protect you until we leave the island. Although, it sounds like you've lost yours, right? Kihihi. Scorpion keychain charms? Yeah, the charm I gave you yesterday was something I got from Maria. I heard it would repel magic if you put it on your doorknob, and at the time, I thought it'd be better if you had it. Is that so? I thought it was an odd thing for you to be going around. Aunt Natsuhi put that on her doorknob? Yes. Last night, after hearing about it from Jessica, I hung it on the doorknob inside of my door. Then Aunt Natsuhi, you're really fortunate. If you did that, Beatrice probably couldn't even lay a finger on you yesterday. I think Beatrice must have been really annoyed. Kihihi. Beatrice? Annoyed? Couldn't lay one finger? Natsuhi thought back onto that eerie scribble she'd seen on that morning, as though someone had been tearing at the outside of her door with blood-soaked hands, and gasped in surprise. Could it be this was the witch who called herself Beatrice, tried to enter through the door to Natsuhi's own room? But the magic charm repelling had been hanging from the inside, so she couldn't break through the door. So she was annoyed. So she scratched at it? Quit it. Don't talk about that. Witches don't exist. The culprit does. And they're human, just like us. If you need proof, why don't we dice her up and see if her blood's red? Damn it. How could you do that to Kano-kun? Click. Genji unlocked the door. 8 people entered Kinzo's study. And 1 left alive. Grandfather's study. I'd heard rumors about it beforehand, so I wasn't that shocked. He had done nothing more than fortify it thoroughly with his occult hobbies. If Grandfather's hobby had been chasing after pop idols, these walls might be buried underneath idol posters. I could just imagine you doing that.
I mean, yeah, I just don't want to imagine that Kinzo would be in the Love Live fandom with me. I just don't like that idea at all.
Even if I didn't understand it, I did realize that this room was a bundle of all his pastimes. Even so, I couldn't help but remain dumbfounded by the smell of his creepy medicine and the sweet stench that seemed to melt into my head. When the door closed, it automatically made a clunk. I see. This is the auto lock that activates whenever the door is closed. And there were only 2 keys that could open this door from the outside. Both were in this room. In other words, it had become a closed room. The shutter, the receipt, the chain. And now, the auto lock. This 4th door had the most magnificent lock yet. And it was doubtlessly a closed room. Just to make absolutely sure that the room was secure, we checked all over for ways in or out. The window was tightly locked. That should have been enough, but just in case, we tried knocking all over the walls. After all, we had talked about there being a hidden door in this room, but we couldn't find anything suspicious. Grandfather's study was very large. Even though we would call it a study, it really wasn't a single room. It could be divided up into 4 basic sections. A study section, a bedroom section, a toilet bathroom section, and a section for cooking that had a sink. I see. The study really does have enough to live in. Now I see how Grandfather could live his whole life in this room without even leaving. It seemed Grandfather wasn't in the habit of watching TV because there was no television or even a radio in his room. We can't do anything except pass the time listening to the sound of the rain until tomorrow morning. Dr. Nanjo looked closely at the chessboard sat on the table in front of the sofa and muttered. It was apparently the partly finished chess match he'd been playing with Grandfather until yesterday. The black and white were well cornered, and the black had the white pretty well cornered, and it looked like checkmate would be reached within a few moves, the last part of the endgame. Even though checkmate had almost been reached, the endgame had been rushed, and in the end was never completed. Kinzo-san, it seems we weren't able to see this match through after all. Dr. Nanjo, I was Kinzo-san's friend for a long time, but I never knew more than half of him. I believe 2 Kinzo existed, a wise one, and one trapped by some madness. I never understood anything about him. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Especially when it came to Beatrice-sama, it would seem like his personality changed.
In the direction of Kumasawa's upward gaze, a portrait of Beatrice could be seen. It wasn't massive like the one hanging in the entrance hall, but small, made for his room. Grandfather probably spent every day in this room, and so much of his time, talking to the witch in that portrait. Who was Beatrice to Grandfather in the first place? Right now, you couldn't explain it away by saying it was a story made up by parents to frighten children away from wandering into the forest. While eating the canned food we'd brought from the kitchen, we talked together about who Beatrice was. Whether the culprit was Beatrice herself, or someone pretending to be her. Whether they were a witch or a human, that was besides the point. The woman in this portrait was strongly related to the roots of the background of this case. You couldn't talk about this case without talking about her. That's right. Mom, you picked up the culprit's letter in Aunt Ava's room, right? Oh my god, finally we get to hear about the stupid letter. Yes, I still have it opened. Still haven't opened it. Let's give it a try. Aunt Natsuhi took out the Western envelope. Genji pulled a paper knife out of the drawer of the desk and handed it to her. While watching her open it, George Aniki grimaced slightly. After all, it was a letter left at the site where his parents had been murdered. There was a good chance the contents would say something unbearable to Aniki. Aunt Natsuhi also realized that, so she glanced over the contents first without reading it aloud. We were a little frightened that she might grimace after reading something shocking, but she frowned unhappily. What does it say? There is one unpleasant sentence. It must be trying to provoke us. Natsuhi, after deciding the contents would be shown to the children, set it openly on the table. Everyone stared at it at the same time. Praise my name. What the hell? That's annoying. It's probably Beatrice trying to declare herself the victor. Damn it. I'll bet you were hoping another weird magic circle would show up. It wasn't a magic circle, but my expectations haven't been betrayed. Hee. What could it mean? I wonder if she was trying to tout her own existence. That seems reasonable. With this letter, we now know the author of last night's letter is the culprit. I think the identical envelope is more significant than what is written here. Without a doubt, this is the type of envelope and sealing wax the master used. Kuma.
Oh. I don't know what's going on anymore. This is the first time I've seen anything like this since I started working for the Yoshiro Mills.
Going by last night's letter, Beatrice is claiming to be grandfather's oldest confidant. Grandfather often said...
Is that me?
No, this is Battler.
Okay.
He's also saying grandfather, not the master.
Ah, yes.
Grandfather often said the same thing in the past, right? I spoke to Genji-san and Kumasawa-san, who nodded together. Guess that means that you two know more about her than anyone else, except for grandfather. Could you tell us? For a long time, I've purposely avoided this topic. But now that it has come to this, I could no longer do so. Genji, tell us everything you know. Ellipses. Genji didn't answer. Did he remain silent despite his knowledge, or did he know nothing at all? Still, I had a good guess. The ghost story about the witch Beatrice had long been deified among the servants. He had probably been very close to grandfather and the occult hobbies. So, there was a good chance he'd been indoctrinated with even weirder things, and increasingly come to defy the witch. As grandfather's most trusted servant who had sworn loyalty to him, he might be the most influenced by the illusion of the witch grandfather had created. So, there was only one reason for Genji-san to remain silent. He could speak, but it would definitely cause a backlash, so better if he kept his mouth shut, and it wasn't like we'd believe him anyway. Something along those lines. A short while ago, Maria had been more willing to speak bluntly and unrestrainedly, and that had earned a scuffle with Jessica. It was natural for Genji to keep his silence. Was she father's concubine? His concubine. That could be possible. For ordinary poor people, polygamy isn't only viewed negatively from a moral perspective, it's also unmaintainable in a financial situation. But that isn't the case for the very rich. It's possible for them to have another lover in addition to their real wife. We can't deny the possibility that grandfather had another woman in his life besides his grandmother. Maybe, when grandmother was alive, I hear she was pretty sure of it. Though she thought he was cheating on her. I always figured she meant that a witch that grandfather had imagined up, but now this is getting really interesting. You told me, didn't you, Genji-san? You said Beatrice has been working for grandfather since before the mansion finished. I heard that the construction of the mansion was completed in Shaw 27, 1952. That means this person called Beatrice was in a relationship with grandfather since at least 30 years ago. Could that concubine of 30 years ago, or maybe a relative or a hidden child with that person, hold some kind of grudge and be planning revenge? I see. It's just starting to sound like your standard Western mansion mystery. It's a fiffy topic, but the easiest line of reasoning to accept. What do you say, Genji? I believe the master was indeed in love. Those feelings were certainly stronger than what he felt for his late wife.
Who is this person called Beatrice? And what's she doing now?
I heard that she passed away before the mansion was completed. She's already dead? Yes. The master was deeply stricken by grief. And he devoted himself to the art of black magic as a means to revive her. The master loved Beatrice-sama from the bottom of his heart. It was that madness which drove him to do all that you see here. As Genji-san said, he spread his arms as though asking us to look at this room, filled with the signs of grandfather's madness. Oh, as Genji said this, he spread his arms as though asking us to look at this room, filled with the signs of grandfather's madness. We were all at a loss for words. Normally, black magic seems like it'd just be creepy, and it's really hard to imagine why someone might be so enraptured by it. Since Kinzo was just an eccentric who had restored the Ishirimiya family amidst his madness, nobody had tried to understand him. The only thing grandfather's mind had been the loss of a beloved woman, and this inescapable sorrow. Earlier, this room had seemed creepy, but in an instant, he had changed into something we could understand completely. The creepy books, the magic circles, the medicine, all of it. It all exists simply because he wanted to revive the face of a single woman who had left this world over 30 years ago. Come on.
The master only told me about Beatrice-sama's story once, when he was very drunk. Although I have forgotten the details, as I was also drunk. It was a deep, deep love, enough to make a woman like me jealous. Ugh! He left me for her.
Damn, okay. When Kinzo-san
making up law for Kumasawa, let's go.
Creating Kumasawa law. When Kinzo succeeded the headship of the Ushirimiya family, his marriage to his late wife had already been decided by the few surviving family elders. So he was forced into a marriage with some other woman who would benefit the Ushirimiya family? That is correct. Kinzo was installed as the head who would revive the family and had to bear the entirety of that heavy responsibility. I do not pretend to know all the details on when or where when Kinzo-sama first met Beatrice. I guess it'd be rude to say any more than that. That was when grandfather truly fell in love for the first time. Just how deep was his affection for her. That was easy to see just by looking around us. This room was covered with piles upon piles of things having to do with black magic. And grandfather spent every day shut in here, immersed by his research and isolated from the outside world, never regretting 1 minute of it. You couldn't help but recognize the depths of grandfather's love for Beatrice. I had it all wrong, Genji-san. What do you mean by that? I always thought that maybe you servants believed blindly in the witch because you'd gotten brainwashed by grandfather and this creepy black magic stuff. But that's not how it was, right? Had they been soothing grandfather's tortured heart, acting as though Beatrice's soul had at least been restored and existed inside this mansion? Though Genji closed his eyes, wearing the expression of one remembering the distant past, he said nothing further. He probably felt that making such a confession would be the worst sort of betrayal against his one and only master, even though the master was already dead. Beatrice has revived as a witch, and exists in this mansion, even now. Genji had said this, and believed it, and had made people believe it, and would follow through with that decision to the grave. This might have been the last service he could offer up to his master. The legend of the witch, the mysterious tale of Rokkenjima, that was still whispered amongst the servants. Its true nature was a sad lie. No. It was an act of kindness towards grandfather, who had lost the person he loved above all else. I remember denying the witch's existence in front of father on multiple occasions. Now I finally understand how much he must have wounded him. Right now I can understand very well. If I thought I could revive Shannon using black magic, I'd immediately become the next owner of this room and start researching. Anaki. Another strand of tears dripped from George's eyes. Maybe his tears were infectious. Tears rose to Jessica's eyes too, and she sniffled. What? No! You can't be really sad and then fade in a very happy looking Maria.
Beatrice has said it. Very soon, she will be able to revive people. You'll be able to meet them, she said.
Very soon, the door to the Golden Land will be opened. The promised land that glitters gold, the souls of all the dead will be resurrected, along with the love that has been lost. Then I will sleep in a world of peacefulness for all time. Did she say that? The Beatrice who gave you the letter?
You don't believe, do you? Hihi.
If only grandfather were here, I'm sure he'd be happy. I'm sure he'd be jumping for joy now that Beatrice is about to be revived. In that case, I believe, if grandfather gave up half of his life for this research, trying to resurrect the soul of the woman he loved and spending the rest of his life believing it, I'll believe it too.
Bowler.
When you love a single woman for so long, the people around you catch on to it and it becomes the truth. Maybe you could say they're just being polite for the sake of your feelings, but right here, now, I'd like to call that magic.
It isn't just being polite. It really is magic. She's a witch. Hihi. It looks like nobody can see Beatrice after all.
Some time passed. As we listened to the sound of the rain, we considered what kind of love and madness must have possessed the owner of this room as he spent half of his life here. If you ask me as a woman, then while I'd like to be understanding of father's feelings of true love, it did leave a mother in an awkward position.
Ha! I agree. Cheating is cheating. No way to make it pretty.
Yeah, that's right. Gotta feel sorry for grandmother. So, have there been any rumors about a child between Beatrice and grandfather? The keyword Beatrice has been hidden in every corner of this case, so it's natural to suspect some relative of hers. No, I have not heard of anything like that. If there was one member, if there was someone, a memento of his most beloved person, I'm sure he would have given them all of his affection. Since he ended up immersing himself in black magic instead, maybe we should assume that there was no such child.
Come on, think about it. That reminds me of a rumor I heard. You know it, right? The story about how grandfather heavily supported an orphanage called the Kuin House?
Enough of that. That is nothing more than a slander that will desecrate father.
Tell us.
Am I talking? Oh, not yet.
No, I was taking a swig of water.
I'm colouring Dr. Eggman.
Colouring Dr. Eggman. I
I think you've even agreed that there's no time to hide things from each other. It's a worthless story. Father made a massive donation to an orphanage and had orphans employed as servants at the head family to give them some on-the-job experience. The story in question is simply some drivel spread by fools who claim that father was using those orphans for some filthy hobby. For a while, some guys even said that he was collecting human sacrifices for his black magic. And he really is doing some weird experiments and ceremonies in this room all the time. So I have believed it myself. And these servants who came from Fukuin House are... There are several of them, but Shannon and Kanon were the two scheduled during the family conference shift. To resurrect Beatrice, he brought in servants from an orphanage as human sacrifices. After all, everyone grandfather selected as a servant was young and about the same age as Shannon or Kanokun. I was sure it was because grandfather had some bizarre hobby. Jessica, mind your words. Was that Jessica speaking that entire time? No, because she was saying father. Oh well. When Aunt Nutty scolded her, the atmosphere instantly went sour and everyone fell silent. However, something was tugging at the back of my mind. Sacrifices. Sacrifices. Human sacrifices brought over from an orphanage. What is it? Freaky words like sacrifices don't pop up often. And yet, I've heard or seen that word recently. Some part of my memory is tugging at me. Hey, Beatrice. What do you know? I had arrived in front of the portrait of Beatrice. It wasn't as massive as the one in the entrance hall, but that portrait, which had been drawn by some famous painter, was still as intimidating in its small side. Below it, like in the entrance hall, was the epitaph that supposedly hinted at the location of the hidden gold. Ah. Sacrifices. Here. What the hell, Battler? You're creeping me out. 6 sacrifices. Ah! Both of my eyes were as wide as plates. Everything's been predicted right here from the very beginning. Everyone crowded around. And the same expression of shock rose to all of our faces. That's right. It's right there in the epitaph. On the first twilight, the offer of 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. There's no doubt. 6 people died in the beginning. And even on the shutter where the magic circle was drawn, on the Hebrew, it was mentioned offering of sacrifices. I've been saying that from the beginning! That's right, Maria said it right at the start. Right after we found the 6 bodies, when Maria was in the parlor watching TV, she said it.
Oh, she's so smart.
The culprit isn't human.
Not you.
It's just the sacrifices chosen by the key. This has nothing to do with the location of the hidden gold. It's the instructions for a resurrection ceremony using black magic or something. After all, this epitaph requires a large number of deaths. It sure does. Even reading through it quickly, there'd be 6 plus 2 plus 5. 13 people who must die. How many people are normally on this island? It changes depending on the shifts, but for the servants, there's father, my husband's, Jessica, and me. And so is these servants. Today and yesterday there were 5 of them, but there aren't normally that many. Which means that normally there wouldn't be enough sacrifices to carry out this ceremony. No, wait. There's a rumor that grandfather was collecting servants from an orphanage to be used as sacrifices in some creepy ceremony. What does this mean? He increased the number of servants to increase the number of sacrifices and then waited for the annual family conference when even more people would gather? Isn't now the time of year with this ceremony could be held? When Jessica screamed this, Maria broke out in a creepy laugh and looked truly pleased. Yeah, that's her laugh now. Haven't you ever heard people making bets to test their fate? Like throwing a sandal and saying if it lands right side up, tomorrow will be sunny. Or saying that tomorrow will be a good day if a coin lands heads up. There are many little superstitions like that. Sometimes when your luck is down and you get bored, you roll a dice and you get 3 sixes. You want to believe it's some portent or of some miracle. When flipping a sandal, you have the worst at 50% chance. When you get the right side up, it's not worth much. But if you carelessly roll 3 dice and they all come up 6, you might think that's a small miracle. Magic works in the same way. You must pray earnestly for an extreme, unlikely result. Then, the feelings from all those stored up prayers gain magical powers and become incarnate. The magic that Grandfather was trying to perform was probably like that. The key randomly selected sacrifices in the lottery. So, to reduce the chance that he himself was selected, he chose the day with the greatest number of people on the island to carry out the ceremony. Ridiculous. Are you saying that this entire situation was caused by a missed ceremony for some bizarre magic? Natsuhi yelled. She couldn't quite quell the fear that the scorpion charm might be the only reason that she was still safe. If I hadn't received that charm for Jessica and hung it on my doorknob, would I have been killed and mixed along with those 6? The strangest part is, even though I hung up, the strangest part is, even though I hung the charm from inside my door, they couldn't get through that door. The culprit noticed the charm from outside the door and gave up on unlocking it. A human couldn't have perceived that. A charm meant to stop something that was not human had done exactly that. Impossible. 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 But not in
Yes,
song.
impossible.
The epitaph certainly does continue to fit even after that.
Oh, sorry. On the second twilight, those who remained shall hear apart the two who are close. Could this be talking about Ava-sama and Hideyoshi-sama?
Painful as it may be, we must reach that conclusion. Painful as it may be, we must reach that conclusion. I think I need to drop the voices at the moment. My throat is getting sore.
Oh no.
We must reach that conclusion. And after the culprit is killed them, they left the words from the third twilight in a letter there. That's right. After carrying out the second twilight, they left the third twilight in that place. The third twilight, just like Aunt Natsuhi had read. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. Ah, if you read it that way, it just keeps going on, doesn't it? The fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. Gouge the head and kill. George Anaki's parents were killed with those demon ice picks and gouged into their heads. But they were the second twilight. Someone else must have been gouged into the head. That's Grandfather. He was burned at the incinerator, so our eyes were so drawn to that part that we didn't notice. But his forehead, no, his head had been gouged. Grandfather was the victim of the fourth twilight. Then Kanon-kun was, on the fifth twilight, gouged the chest and kill. We thought Kanon-kun's case was unexpected encounter with the culprit, but that's wrong. From the very beginning, they planned to lure someone out alone and drive something through their chest. If the culprit has followed the epitaph this far, does that mean 3 people left still have to die? On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. Kumasawa.
Yes! You could read it that way. Yep!
Well, I wonder about that. After those 3 die, it reaches the 9th twilight. Take a look. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive and none shall be left alive. We're all gonna be killed by Beatrice. I don't get it. Wouldn't that mean that everyone dies no matter how many people there are? What was Grandfather after? Doesn't this mean the ceremony would kill him too no matter what? It's okay if no one's left alive. On the 10th twilight, we finally arrive at the Golden Land. On the 10th twilight at Journey's End, you shall attain the power of the Golden Land, the Golden Land's treasures, once and for all and for the last time. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures. Grandfather wasn't afraid of dying. Look at the 2nd and 3rd and 4th of the 4th treasures. One shall be resurrected of all the dead souls. One shall be resurrection of the love that was lost. So Grandfather believed that he would eventually be revived, even if he died partway through the ceremony. Ridiculous. That's insane. When you die, it's over, right? The dead don't come back to life. Isn't that a miracle humanity's been chasing after for thousands of years and still hasn't accomplished? So is this what it means? Something like you'll be able to meet them in the afterlife where they'll be restored? If you're saying what you're saying now is right, would that mean that Grandfather, whose remaining life is slim and who's been driven mad by love, is committing suicide? No. A forced massive group suicide? Genji? Is such a thing possible? I don't know. The master is a man of sometimes that has wisdom to see 1,000 years into the future. However, there are times that appears to be nothing more than madness to commoners such as myself. Okay, so should we take that for a yes? What do we say, Kumasawa-san?
I don't know anything! That's right, I don't know. Do you think I would be on this island today if I know? I would have faked an illness or done something to take the day off. That's right!
What about your opinion, Dr. Nanjo? You've been Grandfather's friend for many years. I feel the same as Genji-san. Kinzo-san was a man who far surpassed ordinary people. I've even felt a sort of inhumane power from him at times. Even I don't know what Kinzo-san was thinking when he wrote that epitaph. All we can say is that even if Father did write this script, someone else is carrying it out. That's right. At the very least, there's another culprit who attacked Grandfather and Kanon-kun. Furthermore, that person is still continuing the crimes just as the epitaph says. The letter in the beginning that we didn't think deeply about. What was that was written in there? We thought back to the recitation of the letter last night. Beatrice had proclaimed something inside it. She proclaimed that according to her contract with Kinzo, she would collect everything of the Shiromiro family as interest. But then she also revealed a special clause. If someone discovered the location of the gold Grandfather had hidden, that right would be lost. When the letter was read, Grandfather was still alive, but at the time it had already been sealed with a wax by the head's ring, which means Grandfather had handed the ring over to Beatrice while he was still alive. If we take a straightforward approach, maybe we should assume Beatrice is carrying out that strange contract with Father guaranteeing her the right. In other words, this is the saying that Grandfather knew and approved of the contents of that letter. In other words, it's basically a joint message from Beatrice and Grandfather, telling us that Beatrice will start collecting interests if we don't solve the riddle. In other words, Grandfather and Beatrice were demanding that we try and solve the riddle of the epitaph. And if we couldn't, we're saying that the massacre would be carried out according to the epitaph. What does this mean? What do they want? I don't have a clue what it means. Look, another letter from Beatrice. Huh? What did she say? Maria was pointing to the top of the table where the canned food everyone had been eating now still lay. A western envelope from Beatrice certainly was sitting. But, so what? What's in the... Aunt Nasihi let out a hysterical cry, looking between her own hand and the table, because the envelope she had just opened was still grasped in her hand. So why is there an envelope on the table? What in the hell? What is going on, Maria? Where did that envelope even come from? Just now I looked and it was lying there. Ew. Kuma. Miss Kuma.
Oh, sorry. I don't know anything about anything.
This isn't funny. There's only 8 of us here. There's no way some 9th person snuck in. There wasn't enough time during the few seconds that we gathered around the portrait, right? Get back, all of you! Back against the wall. Aunt Natsuhi was pointing the rifle at Genji and the others bellowing at them. Genji-san was overpowered, his face looking like he didn't have a clue what was going on. Of course, I felt the same, but a few moments late, I reached the same conclusion Aunt Natsuhi had. Until just a few seconds ago, there had been no letter on the table, and nobody entered this room. That means someone among us placed it there during the few seconds when everyone was looking away, preoccupied with the portrait. But open the envelope and read what is inside. Sure! I picked it up. It was still sealed with wax. Even without disrupting its contents, I realized that this was as yet unopened envelope, an unknown envelope. Without relying on a paper knife, I tore it open and pulled the letter inside. The contents were as follows. Are you enjoying the riddle of Kinzo-sama's epitaph? As you are probably aware, you have very little time remaining. Please abandon any naive hopes of escaping after the storm passes. This game can only end with my victory or yours. When time runs out, I will win by default. There will be no ties. Make sure that you do not misunderstand your current situation. That's what it says. It isn't clear who put this letter there. However, I have been able to narrow down the list of suspects. It's you all.
It's Madame! That's just too horrible!
Just before I moved towards the portrait, I set a can of food down here. At that time, there definitely wasn't anything as strange as this letter there. And at that time, Jessica, George, and Butler-kun were already in front of the portrait. And they didn't leave that spot in front of the portrait until the letter appeared. So, the person who set down the letter is one of you four. Beatrice is here. We aren't Beatrice. Beatrice exists. Silence! I don't know whether I should suspect one of you or all of you. She's pointing a gun at a kid. But without a doubt, at least one of you, one among you is the culprit. That's right. There can't be a 19th person. There's no way witches exist. Even when Kanon-kun was killed. Yeah, that could be explained if Kumasawa-san was the one who did it. The truth is Kumasawa-san entered the boiler room with Kanon-kun and killed him. Then she lied, saying she'd already fallen when she got there.
You're making a mistake, milady! Why would I do something like that?
I don't have the slightest idea how my parents were killed in that closed room. But when they were killed, everyone except the servants had an alibi. The only ones who didn't were the servants. But does that really mean it's okay to suspect them? Yes, now that you mention it, they have no alibi for any of the cases. Should we really be so quick to make that judgment? But at this time, in this room, in this place, this moment, in this minimally small bit of time and space, it's obvious. Only the four of them could have set the letter there in our blind spot. We can't tell who put it there, but it's obvious that one of the four did it. Natsuhi-san, please calm yourselves. A lot has happened today. I understand how it strains on your mind right now. Dr. Nanjo, it pains me to call you suspicious. However, your father's personal doctor and his closest friend. You have been by his side for many years, and you might even know about Beatrice. Could you be hiding some kind of old obligation? Of course not. Calm yourself. It was pitiful to watch Dr. Nanjo frantically pleading his innocence. It was probably a normal reaction that anyone would give if they were suspected. Kumasawa was the same. Ever since Jessica voiced her suspicions of Kumasawa murdering Kanon-kun, Kumasawa had been totally flustered. That's why Genji's still calm appearance looked so bold. Aunt Natsuhi pointed the barrel of the gun. Genji, your grandfather's #1 subordinate? Was Beatrice an illusion you showed to father with your performance? If by suspecting me you recognize me as Master's greatest servant, then I count it in great honor, regardless of circumstances. However, I am not the one who put the letter there. Do you expect us to accept that? You must be a daring leader. Maybe Kumasawa and Dr. Nanjo are your accomplices. And Maria-chan too. Damn, are you really suspecting this 9-year-old child? No content to suspect the adults, Aunt Natsuhi pointed the gun relentlessly at Maria too. But Maria acted as though nothing had happened. Or maybe she thought that she would be fine even if shot. Marietta, by this point, we can no longer remove someone for suspicion just because they are young. For the last time, let me ask the question that everyone's had since last night. Yesterday, who was Beatrice who handed you the letter? Well, Maria, don't dodge the question. Make it clear. Who gave you that letter? Kihi? How many times do I have to tell you? It's Beatrice, the 1,000-year-old golden witch. If you want to know what she looks like, just turn around. See? She's right there. Beatrice is... Kihihi! Don't mess with us, Maria! Enough, Jessica. Maria too. Don't you understand the situation? What are you hoping to gain by saying stuff like that? Stop stirring up each other pointlessly. I don't understand. Do you all want... Who do you want the culprit to be? You only believe in Beatrice when you don't suspect one of your own. When you're trying to settle a grudge because someone who's close to you has been killed, only then do you want to believe in a human who can attack with violence and deny Beatrice. That's why you can't see her. Beatrice exists. You all can't see her. Silence. I don't want to label you as the culprit, but there's no longer any doubt that you enjoy making this situation unpleasant and providing assistance to the enemy. Kihi? Then what will you do? Shoot me? I don't mind. Very soon, the door to the Golden Land will be opened. Then all the dead will be resurrected. Right now, death is nothing to be afraid of. Kihi? Mom, she's really suspicious. We can't keep her with us. But Aunt Nutty, please calm down. There's no reason to shoot Maria. Please remain composed. The letter was meant to provoke us. It's nothing to be afraid of. Even the culprit is scared of what will happen tomorrow. They're scared of the police. Right now, the island is free from the reach of the law, but that's only because it's isolated by this typhoon. Once the typhoon passes, the law will return. So, you mustn't shoot. How can you stay so calm, Georgie-san? One of these four is the culprit. No, maybe it's all four of them all working together. How can you stay so calm when all four might be the culprit who killed your parents? Even I have the desire to find a culprit and kill them. But that would be still simple barbarianism. I will leave the judgment of the crimes to the law. So no matter how suspicious they are, you mustn't pull that trigger. I feel the same as George Anarchy. Aunt Natsuhi. Get a hold of yourself for a second. Anyway, it'd be bad to shoot. In times like this, I hear you should tilt your head back and say stay cool 3 times. Let me make this clear. Witches don't exist. Not on Rakendima, not in the Osiramiya mansion. I declare, as Osiramiya Natsuhi, representative of the Osiramiya family, there's no witch here. I won't accept Beatrice, no matter what you're planning. I won't let you lay one finger on my daughter or the rest of them. That's my duty as a mother and a representative to the family. Those words were the final words of farewell that settled everything. To protect her daughter, Aunt Natsuhi would regard any suspicious person as an enemy. Only reason George Anarchy and I were standing on this side because by coincidence, we had a clear alibi regarding the letter. If I hadn't approached the portrait, I would also be on the other end of the gun barrel, treated like a criminal. But even though part of me thought that, a part of me was thinking that chasing the suspicious people from this room would finally guarantee our safety. Genji-sama and Kumasawa-san and Dr. Nanjo, all of them were grandfather's side. So maybe you could say that once Maria started blindly believing in Beatrice, she was also on grandfather's side. That's right, they're all suspicious. But is this really okay? If we throw out the suspicious ones in such a lawless way, we will still have the right to defy the lawlessness of a witch? Gunshot.
Will Natsuhi use the gun?
Will Natsuhi
I don't
use the
know.
gun?
What's gonna happen?
Aunt Natsuhi didn't tell them to leave with her own words, but with wordless pressure she induce them to say that themselves. Because if Dr. Nanjo didn't say those words, the cold silence would surely continue forever. Calm yourself, Natsuhi-san. Still, I understand your feelings well. I must feel like there's something wrong with my head after all these strange repeated incidents. So I understand well why you want to suspect us. If you really have nothing to do with this, then my actions now would be beyond rude. However, please understand this once. Very well. Let's leave the room. What do you say, Genji-san? Shall we return to the parlor and continue our chess game? If that is what you wish, by all means.
I don't want to! After all, that means we'll have to leave the room knowing that the wolf is among us, right? I don't want to! Madame, please forgive me!
It was obvious what Kumasawa-san was trying to say. If she was innocent, then she was being ejected into the dangerous territory along with the culprit. In this current situation, urging her to leave this room along with the suspects was almost exactly the same as letting her get killed. How Kumasawa-san really was suspicious just for being the first one to discover that Kanon had been murdered. At that time, everyone except Kumasawa-san had an alibi. Unless we can prove the existence of some contraption or existence of some 19th person, Kumasawa-san was by far the most likely suspect. I didn't want to believe it. However, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest of us were in such a difficult situation, we couldn't help but suspecting her as well. So we didn't say anything to stop Aunt Natsuhi from trying to oppressively chase them from the room. We had stopped her from shooting, but we were passively agreeing to chase the others out of the room. On top of that, Maria spoke to the fretful Kumasawa-san. It's okay. Beatrice is kind to those who respect her. You should believe that Beatrice exists. So it'll definitely be okay. I'll watch TV in the parlor. Let's watch it together. It's so boring in here without the TV. It looks like Kumasawa found Maria's roguish laugh very frightening. However, the three people had agreed to leave the room. Kumasawa couldn't fight the flow and had to agree, crying as she went. Well then, Natsuhi-san. That will be all for tonight. Let us meet again tomorrow. Yes. Please understand, at least for tonight. When the police come, all of us will surely apologize for our rudeness. You may play chess, but do it in a safe place if you can. Genji, I leave them in your hands. Certainly.
It can't be helped, can it? They always say the most frightening bears are those with their children.
Genji, Kumasawa, my sincere apologies. Let us meet again tomorrow. Maya-chan-too. Please, forgive your cold aunt.
Uwu, I forgive you. Uwu.
Madame, the keys to this room. I will hand both over to you. Genji-san pulled the golden keys from his pocket and handed them to Aunt Natsuhi. And I will also hand over my bundle of keys to the inside of the mansion. He took out a bundle of keys of 10 various shapes and handed it over. To the servants, those keys were probably proof of their position. Being placed in charge of those keys meant that they were trusted, relied upon. When they were forced to return them, it meant they have lost that trust. Thinking about it that way, Genji-san, who had worked there for a great span of many years, there could be no greater shame. However, Genji-san's usual indifferent expression remained on his face. Genji, I had planned that after father passed, I would reward you with many years of hard work and allow you to retire. To treat you like this makes me feel ashamed from the bottom of my heart. I have already received the master's favor. Everything I have done until today has been in repayment for that. Please do not worry over it. Well then, shall we, everyone? Good night to you all.
Uwu, good night. Good night to you, Battler.
Maria, wait a sec. Knowledge of guilt made me call Maria back. I groped around my pocket and took out the scorpion keychain. This repels magic, right? Wear it. Emmett? Didn't you say you dropped it? Back then I got ticked off at you and just bluffed that I lost it. There's no way I'd lose such a precious charm that you gave me.
Lady!
Maria silently took the charm. I was unable to say anything after that. Well then, everyone. Good night to you.
Baby, good night.
We watched them leave, our expressions completely worn out. We weren't even able to respond. Until the door closed, we heard the auto lock, we were unable to breathe. Then, we were finally allowed to take a breath. After that, I noticed Beatrice's letter, which I had been gripping this whole time, which was soaked in my sweat, actually had 2 sheets. Huh?
I thought you said, almost said groping the whole time.
I mean, it's Battler. Would he not?
Yeah.
The paper had been tightly stuck together, so I mistakenly thought there was only one. There was no characters on the second sheet. The thing there was a magic circle drawn with red ink like blood. Just like how every magic circle until then had been different, this magic circle was one I'd never laid eyes upon. Inside the magic circle was a large triangle and a small triangle to fit a simple design.
The Triforce!
The Triforce! Oh my god! Beatrice was linked the entire time! But just as before, the writing was in Hebrew and it seemed clear that it had some kind of meaning. I wanted to know what it could be, but we just chased Maria, the only person who could understand the meaning of magic circles, out of the room. You're in a room full of books about black magic. Open one of them. I thought of this magic circle as Beatrice's second message. What does this magic circle mean? Damn it. After chasing out all the suspicious people, all we had to do was stay barricaded here until morning, and everything would probably be over. Once the typhoon had passed, when the seagulls cry, will everything be resolved? But the letter, which has unexpectedly appeared in the study, forced us to reject that naivety. It had made it very clear that if time ran out, it would mean the witch's victory. When time runs out, is the witch planning on taking the offensive? This time, is she planning to display some fearful magic power? Something that could have been used to kill 6 adults at once? Wait, when is time supposed to run out anyway? I don't know anything. With this, we should finally be safe. Finally. Definitely. Even though she said that, Lottie couldn't stop gripping the rifle. There was no release in that tension of her expression. Of course, none of us felt like breathing a sigh of relief, at least not until we could hear the cry of the seagulls once more. Crack.
Woo, crack.
Crack. Jesus, the clock keeps getting closer.
Getting a bit claustrophobic.
Okay.
Oh, Brooklyn.
It is just before 12.
11:30.
So, I think we continue on a little bit more. What about you?
Yeah, I was hoping you were not gonna stop us.
Well, it's only been like an hour and a half, so system.
Yeah, we can keep going.
Save.
Let's keep going.
I won't cuck the audience like last time. Okay, I am going to pause for a second though.
I'll use your intonation. You going yet?
Yeah, so we're going again. Mia is going to read for a little bit because I am starting to get a sore throat.
And I will be using Brooklyn's intonation.
Mm-hmm.
After we chased them out, nobody wanted to say anything. All the suspicious ones had been driven away. Even though we knew there might be some innocence among them, we still did it. We chased them out of this paradise, Dante's Inferno, where people don't have to suspect each other. But our motive for chasing them out was suspicious of one person towards another, the worst kind of crime for a human. If we had accepted the existence of a 19th person, of the witch, then we all might be talking face to face, trusting in each other. In that instant, we had agreed to chase out all the suspicious people. But had that been the right thing to do? During the endless silence, we could do nothing but be quietly tormented by that sin. Aunt Natsuhi faced the door without letting go of her rifle for even an instant, sitting far back in the sofa. She would probably spend the night staring at the door without a wink of sleep.
I really hope she talks so you can do your French accent again. That was a really
I'm hoping so too. No, just feel free to be quiet for as long as you need to until so I can be French.
Yeah. I'm just muting my mic so that I can eat for a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, that's all good. I'll talk.
Yep.
George Anarchy gazed through a gap in the closed curtains by the window, looking down at the courtyard and the mansion that surrounded it. I didn't know whether he was checking to see if a suspicious shadow would become visible through the window, or whether he was wondering to himself about something. Jessica was sitting sideways on the sofa next to Aunt Natsuhi, with a dead expression on her face. And every once in a while, as though she'd just remembered something, she'd take out the inhaler that she used during her asthma attack to stick it in her mouth. I just heard it from Aniki, but apparently Jessica liked Kanon-kun, and I shipped them. It was apparently so vague that she hadn't realized it herself. You know, it's the kind of thing other people tend to spot before the person in question realizes it. Which means she might have first learnt of her feelings when the person she liked died. It must have been so terrible, so sad. Come to think of it, Kanon-kun was the one who handed her that inhaler. Maybe she was remembering that.
You sound so flirty saying this.
I can ship people, okay? I'm the cupid that people keep giving second chances to, okay? I was fishing around Grandfather's study, thinking I'd research the meaning of the magic circle on the letter's second sheet.
Good idea, idiot. The only, logical thing that has happened this entire time. Oh my gosh.
You know what? I think I will do something other than flip the chessboard. Gotta figure out a different strategy.
I'll actually do something logical for the first fucking time in this entire game.
Even though we were shut up in a defensive position, my rebellious nature made me want to find some key, some way to resist. After all, we've got plenty of time before tomorrow morning. Okay, I don't sound like you at all. I'm just doing whatever. Who could fault me for how I used that time? No one else showed that much interest in this magic circle. Its meaning was unknown, and once we understood it, we were sure to find some message that would cause us unnecessary anguish. I felt the same way. However, I couldn't just ignore it. I killed time by going through the motions of researching it. You sure are enthusiastic. Did you find anything that might serve as a hint? Nah, not a thing. The first tough part is finding a book written in Japanese. Just how many languages could Grandfather read? He's incredible. Aren't you tired, Battler-kun? You should take a rest while someone else stays awake. Aunt Natsuhi said she'd stay up all night for us, but there's no way her body could handle that. We should take turns sleeping. Then you sleep first, Aniki. I'll keep researching till I get sleepy. You mean that magic circle just now? Yeah. We've got plenty of time to kill.
And people to kill. Ooh!
Oh! I thought it'd be interesting to find out what kind of message Beatrice Sama put in it. Beatrice, give it a rest. Mess around with stuff like that, and you'll end up getting possessed by something weird. Don't worry. I've been certified by Maria herself. She said I've got no spiritual talent at all.
Okay, I've stopped my nomming,
I like
still
Kumasawa. I could yawn. Am I still going?
Yeah, still go. I've just turn my mic back on so I can yap.
Oh, that's all good. Were we too cruel to Maria? I haven't been French yet. Jessica. You mustn't. Were we too cruel to Maria? Jessica, you mustn't think that now. But Mom!
Oh, that was Natsuhi.
Oh! Oh no, I missed a French part! But Mom, if Maria wasn't involved, there's a culprit besides her. Then she'd get obviously a soft target for the murderer. If she's killed because of this, then we've just left her there to die. A gloomy silence settled once again. It looked like Jessica regretted letting her emotions take a hold and snapping at Maria. She's always been like that. Always acting tough and regretting it later.
Relatable.
French! I understand how you feel, but Maria was in a close contact with the culprit. And she might have been siding with them. I feel like this one's worse than the other time I had to do the French accent. Oh no.
Like, oh,
like that.
My name is Natsuhi.
It's Russian now! It's Russian now! Talking like that? No! Further to confuse matters.
Natsuhi is your Rudolph.
I am relieved that we have chased them out. That's pretty harsh, Aunt Natsuhi. Couldn't it just have been the nonsense of a 9-year-old girl? It probably wasn't very convincing to hear that coming from me. I myself thought Maria was creepy on several occasions, even doubting her true nature. And when Maria was chased out of the room, I couldn't deny I felt some relief. Is that the case? Then tomorrow, we will apologize for what we did.
Tomorrow, we will apologize.
The aristocrats, we specialize on the fairest forms and faces. That's, I think that's where I get my French accent from. It's from my bad interpretation of that song. I will take full responsibility for chasing them out of this room. This isn't something the rest of you have to worry about.
Why are you now just sounding like, what's it called? A fruity German and a French person weirdly fused together.
Yeah, no, it probably is just like 5 accents fused together.
You've got Russian in there as well.
To protect Russian's definitely there. The Vil came from German. Don't know what else was there. To protect her own daughter, she had resolutely chased out the suspicious ones. And if, as a result, she had to watch the people who had unfortunately been suspected to die, so be it. She was prepared to take full responsibility. Why does Maria have to keep saying stuff like that? She's bringing out her own ruin. I think the reason Maria-chan adores witches and magic so much might be Aunt Rosa. Aunt Rosa? What does she have to do with this? Don't you realize it too, Battler-kun? Maria-chan's real father ran off somewhere a long time ago. Although Aunt Rosa
Aunt Rosa.
Aunt Rosa tried to confuse the issue by saying she's on a foreign...
Joe Hill is coming out!
on a foreign business trip. Talking about Rosa's family.
Family?
It's become a kind of taboo in the Ushinomiya family. I think Aunt Rosa thought about remarrying, but I also believe Maria-chan may have become her shackles and made her quite difficult. I start any American accent, it ends up Southern.
Yeah, it ends up sounding like, who's the man who conquers that's Joe
Hills. I feel like if Joe Hills were put in Umineko, he would survive every time. Alright, continuing. After all, she sometimes got really emotional and hit Maria-chan. I agree with you there. It looked like Aunt Rosa was trying hard to like Maria. Which means that she didn't really like her. She might have thought of Maria as someone who stood in the way of her remarrying. I think the emotional rejection from her mother.
So remarried, I think that the emotional rejection from her mother must have left some deep scar on her young heart.
Young heart. Bless her heart. So she learned that this cult hobby from somewhere and immersed herself in it to bury the holes in her heart.
Not the holes in her heart.
Bless her heart. Did you know? To Maria-chan, the image of a witch isn't that negative at all. Remember yesterday at the beach?
The beach!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah. It was full of all those fun-looking scribbles.
Oh my god. Hold on.
Are you okay?
I'm writing down potential names because Kyrie Minogue can't. No.
Yesterday, when we were down by the beach, doubting the witch, Maria got all riled up and started explaining about witches. And not one of the pages had showed a picture of an ugly witch. They were all brightly colored, beautiful, cute witches who looked like they were all having fun. There was absolutely nothing sinister about them, like a boy might have imagined. They were beings adorned with beautiful dresses who could grant anyone's dream with their mysterious magic, who made everyone happy. Maria felt the sorrow of not being loved by her mother. Had she sought the help from witches and as beings who could give her happiness and save her? Someday, a witch would come and, using her wonderful magic, would bring Maria happiness. Booyah! Even though she believed that, as she grew older, she had to face the reality as her fleeting dreams were sliced into ribbons one by one. If something claiming to be the Witch of Rokkenjima appeared in front of a girl like that, whispering that she'd take Maria to the Golden Land, where Maria could be happy. I know that it's come to this. I want to confess what's in my heart. Throwing out Maria-chan, no, Genji-san, and the rest too, was probably the wrong thing to do, I think. It wasn't pleasant. Since Jessica had been the one to face them and slam them with the words of rejection, her conscience must be tormenting her a lot right now. Then, how would all explain that letter?
The letter.
No one should have to sit in here except for the 4 people standing behind us.
Is she a snake
I
now?
made sure that with my own eyes. If those 4 were innocent, how was that letter placed in a closed room with 8 people? That's right. When you put it that way, those 4 really do seem suspicious. But, ugh, it's all useless! It's all useless! Useless. What is? Right. It might not be worth anything anymore. Let me spin the chessboard around again.
This man!
In other words, if those 4 really was... one of those 4 really was the culprit, isn't it weird? ... That's right. Wasn't setting the letter openly on the table the same as confessing that one of them was the culprit? You're right, that's weird. If they were going to do it, you'd think they'd put it in the crack of the floor, for example. Crack! To make it look like someone had slipped it in from the outside. Of course! They should have known that they'd be suspected if they didn't make it look like the culprit was from outside the room. Yeah, that's it exactly. If the culprit was one of those 4, setting that letter in the middle of the table would be both risky and meaningless.
I just realized, right, this is super fucking weird, but the way that Jessica's, like, top is tailored, it's clearly in the shape of a blazer, but the way that it hangs off is not blazer-like, and that's especially so with her boobs. No blazer sits like this.
You know a man drew her. You just know it.
Yeah.
But putting aside whatever trick was used to set it there, if we assume that the culprit is someone other than those 4, in other words, someone who was outside the room, then they must have a lot to gain from that letter. Enough, Betlakun. It's meaningless to discuss such matters now.
Matters.
Natsuhi-san quickly guessed what I was getting at. No, maybe she had thought of it long before I had, and had simply held her tongue. If the culprit's outside the... Wait, I'll be Natsuhi. If the culprit's outside the room, then they must be totally stuck in the moment we shut ourselves up in a closed room like this. That's right. It's the same as my theory about how grandfather disappeared from the room, isn't it? I was that laugh. That theory was that grandfather left the room of his own accord. If the culprit used some tactic to lure him out, and grandfather left of his own accord, then... Come to think of it, when we found the scorpion magic circle on the doorknob of the study, Maria said it herself. Beatrice couldn't get through the door. But she could induce someone to leave of their own accord. Which would mean we fell for the culprit's trap completely and sent out some new potential sacrifices? Genji and the rest aren't fools. When they try to protect themselves, then they should find the next safest place after the room.
Safest?
They will definitely be able to hide themselves there. Aunt Natsuhi hadn't answered the question. Aunt Natsuhi herself had realized that if the culprit wasn't in our group back then the letter would make sense as a trap. However, it wasn't worth the risk of calling back the people she had once thrown out. To Aunt Natsuhi, right now, her greatest and only duty was to protect the children. By her thinking, in order to do that, a few sacrifices were unavoidable. ... Hey, Aunt Natsuhi, let me say something a little harsh, okay? At that time, what if by coincidence... I need to blow my nose, oh my goodness. By coincidence, Jessica had also been standing behind you. Would you have chased Jessica out of the room too? ... It's true that a lot of brutal things have been happened. But as a mother, you thought you could protect your daughter no matter what. Alright. You thought you could, because of that duty, you'd chase them out, even though you knew that you'd eventually be held responsible for it. It's not like I'm condemning that. But, I was just thinking about what a great mother Jessica has. That's right. You've been dealing with these incidents since morning, and you've been pulling all of us through this entire time without losing your composure. If we were all confused too, the rest of us would probably be in the culprit's grasp by now. So I think we all have... Grazie. That's not French.
No, it's not. That's Italian.
Missy? So what are you trying to say? Is that you want her to act as Maria's mother too? I always thought of Maria as a real little sister and adored her. And yet, a few things happened and I got a little confused. And I've said a lot of mean things to her, hurting her. Mom, please. Let us stay together with Maria-chan. No, everyone. There was no culprit among us. The culprit in this case is the witch Beatrice, okay? So let's stop suspecting each other. Aunt Natsuhi closed her eyes for a short while. Was she coping with the throbbing headache again, or was she thinking of something? ... You are my precious daughter? The one I finally received a full 12 years after I married my husband? I would become the worst kind of demon to protect you. That was some pretty strong language at the end there. She realized very well that her words were an idealized view of what a mother should be. But even so, she was strongly resolved to protect her daughter, even if she had to become a demon. But that was her guilty conscience tormenting her. Today has been so long. So many things happen in one day, and we've been driven into a corner so thoroughly. I wonder if we have the right to greet tomorrow the way we are now. There it is. I found it. It's the magic circle. Oh, I know that's Battler. It's the magic circle. Inside the book I'd been flipping through, I had found the same magic circle that had been drawn on the second sheet of the paper. George Anarchy peered at it as well. The magic. The magic circle's name was the third magic circle of Mars.
Natsuhi is just stuck to you, like Rudolph gets stuck to me. She truly is your Rudolph.
Oh no!
What's funny is Natsuhi's my favorite
I thought that was
character.
the Triforce. I didn't realize that was the third magic circle of Mars. The Hebrew written on it was from Psalm 77, verse 13 of the Old Testament. What God is so great as our God? The meaning of the magic circle was ... discord. I'm howling at the moon. Agitate internal divisions and cause the enemy to bring about their own downfall. Wait a sec. Seriously? Could there have been a more fitting way to describe our current situation and mental state? We couldn't help but be stunned into silence. So, this letter was a trap? How did they place it in here? There wasn't anyone in this room except for the 8 of us, right? Anyways, let's ignore how they got in here for now.
Thank you.
The culprit was after just one thing. They wanted to spread the seeds of doubt inside this impregnable room.
Pregnant?
Use us to throw the sacrificial sheep out. In that case, thereafter, the people who went out of the room. Mom, what should we do? Those 4 are in danger.
I reckon that the charm is going to save Maria, and then Beatrice is going to come for Natsuhi instead.
It wasn't that surprising that Aunt Natsuhi remained unpleasantly silent. Even if this was all a trap by the culprit, even if the 4 who had been chased out of the room were in danger, it had nothing to do with the safety of the 4 people in here. And there was no way to prove the innocence of the 4 people who'd been chased out. If we're willing to let them die, then we shouldn't leave this room no matter what. That way is safest.
Oh.
At that time, suddenly, the piercing sound of a phone rang through the room. It was the antique extension phone set on the table in Grandfather's study. It had rung right after we started talking about the letter being a trap. It was natural we'd think it was an SOS from the ones we chased out. But then Aunt Natsuhi spoke. It's via phone call. The phones should be broken down and unusable. That doesn't matter. If that's Maria calling us, if the problem with the phones was the culprit's work in the first place, then this phone call is probably... With that one sentence, the ring of the phone, which had sounded like a scream for help, now started to sound like a ghastly lure from some unknown person. Aunt Natsuhi hesitated over whether to pick up the receiver. Let's pick it up, Aunt Natsuhi. The phones might have been fixed for some reason.
And you can trust Joe Hill because he conquers that.
You say Natsuhi's the voice I can't get right. I go from nasally to southern every second time I speak as George.
Okay, I can take over now.
Okay. Thank you, Rigatoni.
It could still be an urgent call from Maria-chan and the rest. That's right. And if it's actually a call from the culprit, bring it on. Why don't we listen to what they've got to say? It's just a phone call. No matter what they babble through the receiver, it's not like it's going to hurt you. If you don't pick it up, then I will. I will take it. I would take it. Hello?
Mushy mushy?
I stretched out my hand to take the receiver, but Aunt Natty grabbed it before I could reach. We all held our breath trying to figure out what the person on the other end of the phone was. But for a while, Natty kept saying hello. A silent phone call? There's no way Maria and the others would do something that creepy, which means could this phone really possibly be? Natty stopped repeating hello and strained her ears, because she thought she heard something far away on the other end of the receiver. What was that? Huh? Is someone singing? What do you mean? Oh, what do you mean someone's singing? I don't know. Faintly from the other end of the phone, I can hear someone singing. I wonder what it could be. Give it here for a sec. Hello?
Mushy mushy.
I half forced the receiver from the stunned Aunt Natsy's hand and pressed it against my ear. At first, I didn't hear anything. But because I'd been told about it beforehand, I noticed. It sounded far away from the receiver rather than someone speaking in a quiet voice. And it sounded like a girl singing a song. Their voice did sound like Maria's, but that made the situation more inexplicable. At the very least, the one who had made the phone call hadn't been Maria. After all, Maria was singing some song far away from the receiver. In that case, the one who made the phone call should have been Genji, Kumasawa-san, or Dr. Nanjo. And yet, they weren't saying anything. Why? For what reason? The person who made this phone call, who was it? Hey! Hello? Who is it? Answer me! Is that Maria singing? Answer me! What's happening? What is it? I don't know. All I can say is, this is probably a trap and Maria's in trouble. Aunt Natty took the receiver again, but after yelling it into it several more times, she realized that she wasn't getting anywhere and hung up. After that, she dialed quickly. She then clicked her tongue. That's right, the phones aren't working. We should be able to reach the police. Oh, if the phones are working, we should be able to reach the police. But judging by Aunt Natty's reaction, the outside telephone didn't connect. Let's go. Even if we know it might be a trap, we have to go. Yeah, definitely. Jessica, Aunt Natty, stay here. When Anaki and I tried to dash out, Aunt Natty stopped us. Hold it. I cannot let you go alone. I will go too. Jessica, wait here. What? So I'll be the only one left out? Nice try, but I'm going to. Yeah, it might be better that way. If the goal of the phone call was to split us up further, it would be a good idea to leave someone to watch this room. There's no time to argue. Let's all go. Aunt Natsuhi raised the rifle high and took the lead. I couldn't go unarmed myself. I found a three-pronged candle stand and raided it. Although the pins on it we used to fit candles were short, it was almost like a three-pronged spear.
Umineko.
Then the four of us left the study. We left the study, which should have been the safest place inside the mansion. By doing this, we'd been lured out, even though we had barricaded ourselves in the safe closest room. Perhaps we were doing exactly the same thing Grandfather had done when he disappeared from that room. Maria! Where are you? Answer me! I listened closely but didn't hear anything. The mansion was vast, and since passing the type room was making its last stand, the sound of the rain was even noisier than before. Maria-chan said she wanted to watch TV in the parlor, right? Let's try looking downstairs. That's right. Let's try there. Everyone, be mindful of your surroundings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick cut from Battler. With Aunt Natsuhi in the center, her rifle readied, finger on the trigger, we moved the group backs together, checking our surroundings in all directions. Just as though the magic circle designed to spread discord had worked, we all had split up. Furthermore, we'd been dragged out into dangerous territory. In other words, even now, we were doing just what the culprit had wanted us to do. This was a separate world, where it wouldn't be odd for anything to suddenly occur. Aunt Natsuhi nervously pointed the barrel of the gun at every dark spot and shadow. It felt like that motion was out of fear rather than caution. But the rifle she held in her hand should have been a trump card that the culprit feared. You know, I've been thinking, wouldn't it be impossible to stick one of those ice picks into someone's chest like Kanon-kun's case?
Mia, I may require you to read again. Just one sec.
Okay.
I'm gonna pause again. I'm like so conflicted because it's like I feel like we're so close to the end of this chapter, but every time I've thought that, we've been nowhere near the end of the chapter.
No, I will say we are getting closer to the end. I will say.
Okay. Well, let's continue. I finally have my proper dinner, so Mia's gonna continue talking.
But splitting the skull and sticking them into the forehead, like my parents' case, wouldn't be easy. You think the culprit had that kind of animal strength? They probably had some kind of weapon, a device that can shoot or pound in those ice picks. That handle was too short to be driven in that deeply by a human strength alone. Either way, we have enough force to break through a skull. I heard Kanon's wound reached as far as his lungs. If you happen to see your opponent, don't go forwards. You mustn't move away from my back. Just how sinister and frightening was the weapon that could shoot those creepy ice picks? And how could I do anything to combat it with just this candle stand in my hand? In the first murder, the culprit probably assaulted all 4 of our parents at once and as they discussed the inheritance problem in the dining hall. And there were 4 of us here now. Apparently, I wasn't the only one thinking this. George Anarchy, Jessica, and of course Aunt Natsuhi were stretching their senses with the utmost limit in the highest and worst state of tension, slowly advancing one step, then another. Ah! What have we done? Because of the seeds of doubt spread by one letter, we threw Maria and the rest into the middle of this terrifying world. We finally reached the first floor. The parlor was just across the hall. When we listened carefully, we could hear it faintly. Maria's eerie singing voice. She wasn't singing naturally, as though she were in a good mood. She was singing mechanically, like she was at a graduation ceremony and she'd been ordered to. The song she sang was just a common folk song, one that everyone had probably sung in school at one time or another. That's why, in the middle of the night, alone, with all her heart, over and over, why? Right after leaving the study, we had called out in loud voices asking Maria where she was. But this time, no one said even a single word. We hid our breath and the sound of our footsteps and intensely focused on the surroundings to the point of being completely high-strung. We stepped forward. The door to the parlor was closed, but we could hear Maria's singing voice through it. Aunt Natsuhi put her hand on the handle of the doorknob. Then, when George Anarchy stopped her, I'll open the door. Aunt Natsuhi, Battler Coon, ready your weapons. Understood. Take care. They might attack as soon as we open it. George Nissan, watch yourself. Sure. Then I'll open it. Huh? He tried to open it, but immediately felt the hard resistance of the lock. Aunt Natsuhi took a bundle of keys from her pocket and gave them to George. There was about 10 keys, and none of us had a clue which one was which. Because of this, George had to fumble around loudly and test several of the keys. Since we had hidden our footsteps, preparing to make a surprise attack on the room, this almost felt fatal. The whole time, we could hear Maria's voice from the parlor, singing the same song over and over.
Okay, I'm finished if you want me to take over.
Feel free to. That was a quick dinner.
Oh, it was only half of it. I had half earlier.
Ah, okay.
It was like a broken, crazy cassette tape. We'd been in that room almost constantly since this morning. All the frightening things that had occurred outside that room that had left us with the impression that this was the only room that was safe. That baseless impression was quickly falling apart. It's open. Thank you. Josh-kun, Jessica, move behind me. Aunt Natsuhi, let's jump at the same time and split up in different directions. If we just stand around after opening the door, those ice picks might fly through the center. I agree. Ready? I really wish I could say no. I readied myself. If they're gonna be throwing ice picks, I'll whack them with the candle stand. Go! Aunt Natsuhi rammed the door before flying into the parlor, quickly splitting up left and right, searching the parlor for someone who might be waiting for us. But what our eyes landed upon was an incredibly strange sight. The parlor was stained with blood. The place which we spent almost the entire day were pressed against together to protect ourselves from some unknown malice, had been stained with fresh blood, had become an ocean of blood. On the floor lay Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, and Nanjo, their bodies stained bright red with the blood. But the only way we could identify them was with their clothes. That was because, that's right, this is how the whole tragedy started. Their faces, just like our smashed up parents in the shed. You couldn't tell where their eyes stopped and their noses began. It was as though they'd really plunged their faces into tomato pot pies and all squished up. Ooh, that wasn't all. Their bodies had other wounds. It was those demon ice picks. They were in Genji's-san's stomach, Dr. Nanjo's thigh, no, his knee? That's right, of course his knee. And in the epitaph, the 6th twilight was the stomach. On the 7th, it was the knee that was gouged. Did I write down Genji for stomach? No, I did Kinzo. I did Nanjo and Kinzo. And then knee was Kumasawa, Genji, or George. And then leg was Kumasawa! So seeing one of them stuck near Kumasawa Bachan's cuff, I couldn't help but masochistically laugh, thinking, that's right. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. I can't believe I got Kumasawa. I just had to switch Nanjo and Genji.
3 different ones!
Now even the 8th twilight is over. And the next one, the 9th twilight, what was it again? Maria was there. She was facing the wall, the inner part of the room, standing stock still, completely alone. She faced away from this horrible scene, standing by the wall, singing her song over and over. There was nothing else in the room. Just the corpses of the 3 who'd been brutally killed and the phone receiver, which was still off its hook, providing this room with the call that it had come from. Just that, Maria had her back to the scene as she kept on singing while facing the wall. We couldn't even scream at this bizarre scene. We could only stare shocked with our mouths hanging loosely open. Maria? Jessica called out to her, but Maria showed no reaction. Alone, she kept singing on and on. We had come here trying to save Maria from some approaching danger, so now that we had found her, we should have been running up to Maria, hugging her joyous that she was safe. And yet, not one of us could do that. Everyone thought it, but they couldn't say it. After all, because that's right. Even crazy. No, it couldn't be. Maria, stop singing! Are you listening? At some point, Aunt Natsuhi and I pointed our weapons at Maria's back. I yelled at Maria in a violent voice, but there was no reaction. She just kept singing. With the candle stand, I ran up to her forcefully, no violently, slammed my hand down on her shoulder, then pulled her shoulder, forcing her to turn around. Ugh. Maria's small body quickly pulled down and fell. As though unhappy having her singing interrupted, Maria looked into my face with her usual expression. Even in this gruesome situation, she was just like normal. Maria, what is this? Who did it? It was Beatrice. Cut the crap! I threw the candle stand that I'd been holding against the wall. The violence of the reckless sound should have gone straight into Maria's heart. But Maria's expression didn't change at all.
Quit it, Battler-kun. Maria-chan, this time you should have seen the face of the culprit who killed these three. Was the culprit the same Beatrice who gave you the letter?
Uwu? Beatrice?
Well, in that case, it's certain. There's the 19th person. Beatrice does exist. Then Maria, will you at least tell me this much? How did they kill these three people? What did they use to kill them in such a brutal way?
I don't know.
How could you not know? It happened in this room. Are you trying to tell me you were so absorbed in singing that you didn't notice? Calm down, Battler-kun.
Battler-kun.
Talk to me, okay? George Anarchy, he always did, crouch down next to Maria so their eyes could meet and talk to her very kindly. Maria-chan, well, why were you facing the wall and singing?
Uwu? Beatrice said to face the wall and keep singing for a long time. Uwu.
So Beatrice did come here. Were Genji-san and the rest still alive then?
Uwu. Everyone came into the parlor together and sat down. Genji said make sure to lock the door.
It was locked when we got here, but then how did Beatrice get into the parlor?
Uwu. Beatrice is a witch, so locks don't matter. She turned into butterflies and came through the crack in the door.
Crack.
Huh? Calmly joking at a time like this? Like hell that happened. What are you saying?
Kihihi. You can't believe it? That's why I said I didn't want to say. No matter how I say it, you won't believe me. But Beatrice is a witch. She can do anything with her malicious magic. Or miraculous magic.
I guess it is also
Miraculous.
malicious.
That's why Beatrice doesn't care whether a door is locked or not. Kihi.
And then, after Beatrice appeared, what happened to everyone?
Beatrice talked to us. She said grandfather's study was protected by a powerful force and she couldn't enter no matter what she did. So, she told us to select 3 sacrifices from the 4 people in the parlor. Everyone said, no way. Hihihi. Kumasawa kept saying no way, no way. But Beatrice chose. And when she did, Beatrice said I'd be fine. Why do you think? It's because of the scorpion charm with the 5th circle of Mars, the one Battler used to pray for my safety, the one he put his feelings into. Because of that power, Beatrice can do anything to me alone. So, she decided to use the other 3 as sacrifices. After that, Beatrice spoke. Come face the wall and sing a song for me. You will sing lots and lots of songs, so no matter what happens, no matter what you hear, you won't hear, you won't hear, you won't know. Come, sing lots of fun songs for me. So, I was singing the whole time, over and over. So I didn't hear anything, didn't know anything. And then you all came. Is it?
Are you asking us to believe that? You think we're stupid?
Then, who will you suspect this time? Will you suspect me? Gonna try and killing me right there? Even if you do that, Beatrice won't stop existing. Now, the 8th twilight is over, and Beatrice will revive.
Are you serious? I've had enough of that talk. As if witches could exist. As if I'd let myself get tricked. I won't accept it. Beatrice doesn't exist. I definitely won't accept it. So, I won't let her exist. I won't let her revive. The legend will remain a legend forever. I won't acknowledge something like that. Quit it, Battler. It's not like Maria killed them or anything, or let them die.
Beatrice came and Maria had to obey, or was unable to resist.
Huh? Aunt Natsuki? She's in here. What?
Mom, where'd you go? Just now, she left by herself reading a letter.
A letter? That makes sense. The culprits must be so exhilarated now that we've reached the 8th twilight. They might have left a letter so they could brag even more. We were so wrapped up in questioning Maria that we forgot to look for a letter. But even as well-armed as she was, why had she left the room by herself in this dangerous mansion after reading it? Jessica tried to chase after her but tugged at the handle to the door, but it resisted strangely and wouldn't open. Mom! Mom! What's going on? Open up! Open up! It was only natural. Natsuki had picked up the candle stand, which Battler had thrown in the door, which had fallen to the floor. She then skillfully wedged it between the doorknob and the double doors, like a bolt holding them closed.
The intricate design of the candle stand caused it to get caught solidly, and she really did make a sturdy seal on the door. The tragic scream of her daughter for her mother. It did reach Natsuhi's ears, or not. Natsuhi's figure was alone in the entrance hall. It was a place decorated by the portrait of Beatrice. Natsuhi threw down Beatrice's last letter, the one she read in the parlor, readied her rifle again, and in a voice that rang clear, yelled in a massive space that was the entrance hall. I am Ushiramiya Natsuhi, representative of the Ushiramiya family. Show yourself, Golden Witch Beatrice. The entrance hall was dimly lit, other than a faint light which shone at the center of the room. Everything was blotted out by jet black darkness. In that darkness, butterflies glittering in gold squirmed and twinkled and sneered. Natsuhi gave one more huge gulp and pointed the cold barrel at the gold butterflies. So, you have finally shown yourself. I still can't believe it. That something like you really exists. But that isn't a problem. Both you and I bear the title of representative to the Ushiramiya family. And you, who claim to succeed the headship of the Ushiramiya family, are right here, now. At this point, whether you are a witch or not, is a trivial matter. Come, let us settle this. Which of us would truly succeed the Ushiramiya family? I, Ushiramiya Natsuhi, or you, Beatrice? Allow me to respectfully accept your request for a duel. Oh! Inverted butterflies. The golden butterflies slowly formed a human shape which walked into the dim light. Natsuhi readied the rifle and glared. The witch raised a golden staff overhead and laughed. Natsuhi's fingers slowly squeezed the trigger. And go! Battler made an all-out dash at the door and rammed into it, crushing the candle stand that had been barring it and making it impossible for a big gap to be opened in the door. He kept kicking the candle stand through the gap and the door was finally released. Bang. At that time, they heard it. They certainly heard the crisp sound of gunfire ringing out at once. Mom! Mom! Jessica-chan, you shouldn't run off by yourself. What was that sound of the gun just now? Did not Natsuhi shoot? At whom? At the culprit? Not. The noise came from the entrance hall. At the entrance hall looked like a stage. The heroine of a tragedy on the ground, bathed in light, arrayed in a beauty of that silence. Aunt Natsuhi lay face up, crumpled on the floor. Half crazed, Jessica ran up to Aunt Natsuhi. On Aunt Natsuhi's forehead, it was almost as though a sparkling sharp of pigeon blood ruby had been placed there. And from it streamed a blood of makeup, passed by her eye as it began to traverse her face. The faint smell of gunpowder smoke came from the barrel of the rifle Aunt Natsuhi still grasped. Huh? Then she shot herself in the forehead? Why? Mom! Yeah! I don't get it. I don't. Why did Aunt Natsuhi run away all alone? And why did she shoot her own forehead? Maria-chan, Aunt Natsuhi left the room after reading the letter, right? There's no letter here. Damn it. What did Aunt Natsuhi read and why was she lured out here? I don't know. Who cares about that? Why the hell did she kill herself? Why did she leave me all alone? Ah! Jessica clung to her mother's corpse, crying earnestly. Her body was consumed with anger and didn't know what to do. I snatched the rifle from Aunt Natsuhi's hand. I spun around, pointing the barrel of the gun at the darkness of all sides. I thought was pointing a light from a lighthouse, trying to find the culprit. George Anarchy, even in this situation, was trying to calmly figure out something, but might have been a fruitless effort. And only Maria was completely indifferent. So this is all supposed to be some kind of predetermined fate? No, that's not it. It's a prelude to a wonderful world. The door to the Golden Land will finally open. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, at the journey's end, you shall attain the power of the Golden Land's treasures, and once for the last time. With this, everything is over, Beatrice! Congratulations! So, lead me to the Golden Land you told me of, right now! All of the dead will be revived, and even the lost love restored. So in Maria's eyes, it's just as though all of today's tragedies didn't happen. As though all the time she spent deprived of love never happened. Stop it! What's so funny? What's to be congratulated? There were 18 people on this island. 14 are dead. Only the 4 of us are left. I'm definitely not gonna die. Until this night is over. No. Until the typhoon passes and the seagulls gather again at the harbour. I'm definitely not gonna die. I'll stay alive. I'll stay alive no matter what. Kihi. Give it up, Battler. Guns are useless against witches. Survival and all that stuff doesn't matter because it's over. The journey has already ended. See? Look at the clock. Huh? The clock? Hearing those words, I looked at my wristwatch. Both needles were almost touching near the top. Very soon, it will be 12 at night. In other words, 24. Midnight. When you think about it, isn't 24 a train's time? It can be called 24, but it can also be called 00. It's the hour of culmination of the previous day. At the same time, it's hour 0 for the next day beginning. Beatrice! Maria suddenly called out happily and ran towards the darkness. It was almost as though Beatrice was somewhere in that darkness and Maria was running up to her. As Jessica hugged her mother's corpse, as George Anarchy stood there confused, I looked down at the barrel of the rifle, gazing into the darkness. The space in front of Beatrice's portrait lay in the direction, and the thing Maria was running up to was the portrait's subject. You've got to be kidding me. This is impossible. I'd like to fall for something like this. Witches don't exist. I won't accept it. Something like you shouldn't exist because this is a human world. You think I would accept something that's not human? I definitely won't accept it. When I pulled hard on the rifle's lever, the cartridge was ejected, it fell on the floor, and a new cartridge was loaded. Then, I sighted the witch down the barrel. Maria turned around. Still clinging to the golden witch, she turned around. Didn't I tell you it was meaningless? Mere lead bullets and meaningless against Beatrice. Humans are so stupid, aren't they? I won't accept the existence of witches. Who are you? Just try moving one step. Try moving one finger. I'll blast you away. As the witches laughed. The even larger clock in the hall joined onto their laughter. It was probably telling us the time was 24. It was both a tone telling us we had reached the culmination of this day, a tone informing us that all had returned to nothing. The rule that the witch would win when the time had run out had been revealed. Battler, George Nichan, and Jessica. The journey has ended, and the witch has revived. See? And none shall be left alive. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures. One shall be the gold from the Golden Land. One shall be the resurrection of all the dead souls. One shall be the resurrection of the love that was lost. One shall be put to the witch. One shall be put to the witch to sleep for all time. Sleep peacefully, my beloved witch Beatrice.
Can't believe you said that properly this time.
Yeah. Crack.
I will be honest though.
Mm.
It goes into the tea party, and I feel like it would be fruitless to do that for the start of the next one, considering after this, it's going to go into episode 2. Because we've basically reached the end of the main part of episode 1. There's just the short tea party section.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah.
The storm passed. The leaden clouds had enshrouded the island for so long cleared away. From the rift between the clouds, sunbeams shone, and yesterday's storm seemed like a lie. As someone had wished, the seagulls returned to the harbour once again and let their lively cries be heard. Afterwards, the police came and conducted an investigation of the scene. The corpses of the children who were thought to have survived until the very end were never found. However, because the body parts that were discovered were unimaginably gruesome, the nature of the scene and the police were forced to conclude that chances of survival for any of the 18 of even the children seemed hopelessly dim. Just how gruesome was the banquet of the witch? Just how beautiful was the Golden Land? They were the only ones who got to hear the tale. No tales were told to those humans who arrived after the banished banquet was over. The best they could do was imagine what might have happened during those 2 days. However, the witch was fickle. She made the point of leaving behind this tale, which didn't need to be heard and was allowed to be spread. Then, many years later, a strange wine bottle that had drifted onto the waves of the pier of the neighbouring island was pulled out by fishermen. Inside was a thin, tightly rolled notebook, fragments written upon cramped small letters. Written there was this tale. Through this notebook fragment, people will finally learn the truth of the mysterious and riddle-filled 2-day period that started on October 4th, 1986. This incident was later called many names such as the Rokkanjima mass murders, the 18 killings of Rokkanjima, through
Dylan Tarte's
witch legend serial murders. Lovers of the occult claimed that it was the result of immoral ceremonies sealed up the island. The 2 mysterious days were savagely embellished with many interpretations spread far and wide. However, not one of these interpretations approached the truth. Furthermore, while it looks like a notebook fragment described this mysterious incident, it does not reveal the truth of what happened here. Or perhaps even the writer didn't know what the truth was. According to the writer, her name was Ashiramiya Maria. Oh my god! Incidentally, as a result of an all-out police investigation, part of Maria's body, a piece of her jaw was discovered. It was one of the rare instances where corpses were identified thanks to dental records. At that gruesome scene, there had been many body parts that couldn't be identified as belonging to any specific person, so it's probably fair to say that this jaw was an extremely fortunate find. Because this jaw had been separated from the police judged her chances of survival to be hopelessly dim, even though none of the other body parts were found, or at least identified. And so, concluded this tale, the final section of the notebook fragment by Ashiramiya Maria left behind. By the time you read this, I will probably be dead. Although there may or may not be a corpse, you who have read this, please find out this truth. That's my only wish, Ashiramiya Maria. To this very day, the truth of the witch's legend serial murders has not been brought to light. First game, Legend of the Golden Witch results. Ishimiya Kraus died on the first twilight, chosen by the Key of the Golden Land, offered up as a sacrifice. Same with Rudolph, Kiri, Rosa, Shannon, and Goda. Ishimiya Ava died on the second twilight, pierced through the forehead by the stake of Asmodeus?
Beelzebub.
The stake of Beelzebub.
Lucifer.
Kinzo gouged by the stake of Mammon, servant Kanon gouged by the stake of Satan, servant Genji gouged by the stake of Lucifer, Nanjo the stake of Beelphegor, stake of Leviathan. The witch Beatrice, revealed on the 9th night, finally opened the doors to the Golden Land. Ashiramiya Natsuhi died on the 9th twilight. The witch duel praised her nobility and granted her the honour of the duel. Ashiramiya George, missing on the 12th night. After he acknowledged the existence of the witch and prostrated himself, the witch invited him to the Golden Land. Jessica Maria to Golden Land.
All invited to Golden Land. That love. Will the witch invite this man who denied her existence to the Golden Land?
The witch will praise the wise and shall bestow 4 treasures on the Golden Land, where they choose to revive their souls of the dead and love that has been lost. After that, no matter how large amount of gold has been desired, it would have been out of their grasp. George chose his lost fiancé, Jessica chose the boy she had liked and lost, Maria chose the lost love of her mother. Sleep peacefully, Beatrice. Let nothing disturb your slumber ever again. The winner of the
The winner is the Golden Witch Beatrice. Time ran out before one of the 18 people could solve the riddle of the gold. All 18 died. When the seagulls cried, none were left alive.
Were you holding that down manually to let it go down, or was that going by
It's
itself?
automatically going. Me scrolling like this is stopping it.
Okay.
Because I didn't know if me clicking it would stop it. When they cry.
Umineko no Nakukoro ni.
Crack.
Crack.
Nah, just fading. So Battler didn't get to do jack shit because he didn't really believe in Beatrice.
Yeah.
Addition of new features. The Golden Witch has prepared a gift for you in commemoration of your stay. You can find these new features on the title screen. Can it be a volume slider? So we've done episode 1! Yes!
Where's the tea party?
It's probably not here. Let's go tea party!
There's the tea party.
The Golden Witch is granting you an invitation to a tea party. We hope you choose to attend. So if I press start, unlock? Yes.
No, I don't. No, you need to do the tea party first.
Moved. Okay. Well, I won't start that now. Tab. Oh, whoa! This is new.
Go tea party. Gotta go to the tea party.
Sorry, I'm just, like, testing stuff. I think I'll not do the tea party for today, because we've been doing this for 5 hours.
That's all good. It does start introducing the witch characters.
I mean, they said witches, so...
Yeah.
So...
Well, I have to be Lambda Delta when she does show up. Not yet,
Okay.
though, but she does eventually.
Yes. Well, that is all.
Did you
finished the first episode of Umineko. It only took us about 16 hours.
16 hours, let's go!
So, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Next episode, we will do the tea party, and then we will start on episode 2. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!